Yo guys, my name is KresselleKey and I want to be the very best that I can be, and I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in to the playoff push for the Sword Division for Week 11. I do apologize for there not being a playoff push for last week being Week 10, because unfortunately a lot of the games hadn't been played and I was hesitant to make a video where only half of the games had been played on time. Unfortunately, by the time that most of the Week 10 games have been played, it had already lapsed into Week 11. So today, we are just going to talk about the games as they are. There are still a couple games that are not updated on the website. I have no idea if they have been played, but they haven't been played at this current moment, and I really can't be running around trying to catch up with the coaches to put their stats into the thing, because they get mad at me, and I don't want that. So without further ado, let's get into the playoff push for this week. To no one's surprise, Joey is firmly sitting at the top of the Sword Division, rank 1 obviously, 11-0 with a differential of 43. That's insane. That is almost a 4-0 every single week that Joey is averaging. I don't, let's be real, think anyone is going to overtake Joey at this point, although it is mathematically possible. A-Drive, who is currently sitting in second place at 9-2 with a differential of 26, could theoretically overtake Joey if a lot of unfortunate things were to occur to Joey. Joey would have to lose both of the next 2 matches he played, and he would also have to lose by quite a big differential. If he lost to A-Drive in Week 13 by 6-0, he would still be 4 differential ahead of Joey. Therefore, A-Drive would have to win his game, or Joey would have to lose his other game by that difference for it to even occur. And Joey would actually have to lose both of his games for this to even happen, because Joey will still be ahead on win-loss if Joey wins one of his next 2 games. However, I do actually want to talk about Joey's next couple of matchups. If any of you watched Joey's last match, he actually tells you that he doesn't think that he has very good matchups coming into these next weeks. He believes that his opponent's edge on a 55% to 60% advantage coming into the team building, which I do have to agree with. Coming into this, Blacephalon has quite a good matchup, being able to spam fire and ghost type moves on most of Joey's team, the only one resisting all of them being Crocodile. However, Crocodile struggles to the weakness of Ferris Seed and also Araconid as well. It can't come in reliably on any of them. Another weakness that Joey might face going into this week is the speed control. Joey's team is just a lot slower in general than some of the faster ones in Duncan's team. If you add that on with sticky webs, Joey could find a really tough time outspeeding things. He will probably have to run bulkier sets than more offensive sets to make sure that he can tank the hits. And if you think Duncan is hard, he also has to face the second division. He has to face Dan, aka A-Drive, in the next week, in the last week. Now, this could be a bit of an interesting match, because it's very likely that these two will probably meet somewhere in the playoffs. And if that does happen, I don't know if they actually want to play this game seriously. I'm unsure at this point if they're going to play it seriously, because they are both 100% guaranteed to be locked probably into the first and second seeds. So for them to reveal all of their sets now might ruin them for later when they want to play seriously. However, if Dan really does want to secure the first spot, he actually does have a good chance of doing it. He has such amazing wall breakers. He's got Cure and Black. He's got good Bulk and Skarmory and Florges. I just don't know how this man got this core. It's insane to me. Dan also has Mega Magnetric, one of the fastest mons, and is the fastest mon in this game, which can really just damage Joey's team by the combination of like a Flamethrower, Hidden Power, Ice, Thunderbolt, and Volt Switch. It doesn't need to do anything more than it normally does. Dan also has access to the power that is Talonflame, and with a combination of Flare Blitz and Brave Bird, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't have Gale Wings. This thing is a monster. In fact, I know that Dan's been running Flame Body instead of Gale Wings a lot of the time, because he doesn't really care about, repeating and spamming Brave Bird, because it's so hard to do now that Gale Wings has gotten nerfed. So this will be an interesting match for sure, but I don't want to touch on this one too much, because I do believe that I will be talking about this once we get to playoffs and once the matches start, that this will probably be a matchup that you're likely to see again. So I don't want to spoil it all, but at this moment I think it's going to be a really interesting battle against Joey, who is just known for prepping so well and just having his game plan as he comes in and executing it flawlessly, to Dan, who is just also a really smart builder and really good at making those on-the-fly decisions. And I don't know if you've seen his previous battles, but coming back from a deficit where he realized he's made a mistake, but to make the plays to get him back into the game. We do have some other contenders for the top 2 spots. Of course, we can't forget about Wolfie and the Milwaukee Bears. He's currently sitting at 8-3 and 23. So it actually is very, very possible for Wolfie to come back in this and maybe slide into the second seed against Dan if something were to happen to Dan. If Dan were to lose to Joey, that would be very possible for Wolfie to slip in there because he's only 3 differential behind at the moment. Wolfie's next game, his week 12 game, is actually against Dan, so this has major playoff implications as well. I'll dive into this one as well in a bit. So Wolfie obviously is running his Sand team, and he's also running his Tornado Therian, which is he's really known to use for, but Dan just has the monster that is Kieran Black, and I just think it's going to be really interesting to see these two play. Wolfie, the master of really long intros that are somehow just hilarious, and Dan, who is just so calculated in his plays, and he always weighs up his options before doing stuff. Wolfie is a bit more of a YOLO player, I would say. I'm sorry that I said that, but it's kind of true. He'll just go like, I'm going to do this play because it's the smart play, it's the middle ground play, and then he'll just suddenly turn around and go, no, actually, I'm going to do this. And most of the time, it works out for him. The way that they both have amazingly good Pokemon as really high on the kill leaderboards as well. Wolfie obviously having his Mega Blastoise, which is 17-3 from 9 games brought, and A-Drive, who has his Kieran Black, which he's brought 10 times and has gotten 15 kills and 6 deaths. When it comes to deciding the winner of this battle, I genuinely just think it's going to be the person who keeps their mons healthier and is prioritizing which mons they're going to sack better. I also think it's going to be a bit of a prediction war. The person who makes the better predictions at the right time is going to probably take away the game. I reckon whoever gets the momentum first in this game is going to be the one who takes the game away. Dan obviously has such amazing mons to keep momentum. He's got his Skarmory, he's got his Zoroark, he's got his Talisman Flame, he's got his Mega Magnetric, all with access to moves that can get them out to Volt Turn cores. Wolfie doesn't have as much of this. He does have his Mandibuzz and he also does have his Tornado Therian, but it's a little bit less lacking. So Wolfie, when switching, has to be much smarter about what he's switching into, or when he's predicting something to U-turn, what they're going to U-turn into. I actually do want to give this battle edging towards Dan because I just think that Dan just has the right combination of momentum to be able to probably whittle down Wolfie maybe slowly, but in the end having more HP to just come out on top. Talking about some of the teams in the middle of the pack, we have the South Texas Sableyes at 4th, coached by Invivid Color, who are 7-4 with a differential of 23. In 5th place, we have the New Orleans Pelipers, coached by John at 7-3 with a differential of 8. In 6th place, we have the Free State Torracats, 6-5 with a differential of 2. And in 7th place, we have the Newcastle Nidoking, coached by Padders, which are 6-4 with a differential of -5. Just outside of the playoff race at 8th, we have the New York Marauders, who are 5-6 with a differential of 7. And in 9th place, we have the Pittsburgh Pichus, who are 4-6 with a differential of -13. All the teams below this are unfortunately out of playoff contentions, I believe, that being the Milwaukee Swordsbucks, the Nuzleaves, the Rochester Rhydons, the LA Spice, and the Tennessee Trubbish. So, out of the 6th and 7th teams being the Free State Torracats and the Newcastle Nidokings, I only see one of them falling out of playoff contentions, and that is just due to the fact that the New York Marauders are actually facing the Pittsburgh Pichus, which means that one of them is going to lose quite a bit of differential and also get a loss. If the Pittsburgh Pichus win, that would help them a little bit more, but the Pittsburgh Pichus will have to win 2 games and hope that Padders loses 2 games to sneak into the playoff contention. The only change I see happening in this division is Padders maybe falling out of playoffs. If he continues to win, he won't fall out of playoffs. However, he is sitting at a -5 differential. So the New York Marauders, coached by Mr. Talent below him, are actually at a higher differential. So if the New York Marauders win out, they will actually probably take Patter's place over him. The New York Marauders are facing the Rochester Rhydons and the Pittsburgh Pichus coming into the next weeks. 2 of some of the weaker teams in the division. So obviously, if the New York Marauders win against the Pittsburgh Pichus, they'll probably make it, and they have to probably win against the Rochester Rhydons as well. But the Rochester Rhydons are 3-8 with a -30 differential, so the season hasn't been going that well for Buff and his Rhydons. If I were to sum this division up in a couple of words, I think that the people at the top, being Joey, A-Drive, and Wolfie, are going to be the ones that are firmly seated at the top for the rest of the season. The rest could shuffle around a little bit. I could see maybe in Vivid Color and John switching just based on the records that they have. But other than that, there's not too much shifting going around in the middle tier either. And the bottom tier, the only one I really see falling out of playoffs could be Patters. But even then, Patters' next couple of games are definitely winnable. He's playing the Milwaukee Soulbacks and the Free State Torracats. So even then, there's more implications for people to fall out, because a lot of like the week 12 and 13 games, at least one of the matches for one of the teams in playoff contention matters, and it's a game that they need to win. So guys, thank you very much for tuning into Playoff Push this week. Thank you so much for standing with us while there was, I know, a bit of a lack of uploads on the WB channel last week. Please go check out all the other analyst videos and subscribe to all of our YouTubes. We do work really hard to bring you these videos, and if you want to comment below what you think about the playoff implications at this point, please feel free. I will be reading the comments and replying. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you all next time. Cheers.